Do you want to do more than follow orders, think outside of the box, and manifest your dreams? Then you've come to the right show. Welcome to the award-winning podcast, Holding Down the Fort by U.S. Vet Wealth. I'm your host, Jen Amos, a Gold Star daughter, veteran spouse, and entrepreneur. For Season 7, I am ecstatic to be in partnership with the Rosie Network to highlight motivational stories of personal growth, financial awareness, and autonomy in our military community. Now, let's get started. Hey everyone, got a quick question for you. Have you ever felt that the mainstream fitness industry sets unrealistic or extreme standards? Well, I had the fortune of interviewing founder of Shaped by Strength by Anna Wood. In this conversation, Anna shares her experience as an immigrant military spouse adjusting to a new country while her husband was deployed. As a Service to CEO alumni and Service to CEO lead chapter of the Rosie Network, she learned to design her business in a way that doesn't conform to mainstream fitness industry standards. She encourages her clients to focus on wellness rather than weight loss and making fitness accessible in a way that fits into people's lives. Anna, it was such a pleasure having you on our show. Thank you so much. I want to encourage all of you, if you want to look her up as you listen to this conversation, to check out the show notes of this episode and get all the links on how to get a hold of her. If you are new in podcasting, no worries. Just open up the browser app, whether it's on desktop or mobile, and search the website holdingdownthefortpodcast.com. On the very top in the search bar, just plug in the numbers 169, that's episode 169, and from there you will find Anna's episode and all the ways to get a hold of her. Last but not least, this is a ad-free conversation thanks to my company, U.S. Vet Wealth, where we're all about providing financial services and education to our military retirees. Thanks to my company, our show actually has a free podcast portal for bonus content, which I will talk more about in the post commentary of this episode. So stick around to the end after the outro music for more information. Until then, please enjoy this conversation with Anna Wood. All right. And with that said, I am incredibly excited to welcome Anna Wood to Season 7 of Holding Down the Fort. Anna, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. And so I want to open us up with an icebreaker question. I have 5 cards in front of me, and I would like for you to pick a number between 1 to 5, and I will pick the card for you. 3? Okay, that's the middle one. All right. Oh, this is a funny one. Okay. Do your plants thrive or die in your care? And explain.
I only have plastic plants because I have learned my lesson. I have the black thumb of death. My cats are thriving, but that's because they speak up and they ask for food. But, the approach that I saw this tweet. Did my plants actually die, or did they just not have what it takes to thrive in this fast-paced environment? So yeah, all plastic, and they look phenomenal.
There you go. Hey, plastic plants go a long way. I feel like they still make a room feel alive, and good thing is you don't have to water it. Like my mom-in-law not recently, but a couple months ago when she was downsizing, she gave us a bunch of her plants. And so far, I'd say that one of them is thriving pretty well, but that's only because it's just one of those plants that doesn't need a lot of love and attention. And the rest of them are in the front yard and they're all covered by weeds because we didn't realize how intense summer can be and how quickly weeds and plants and everything grows. We haven't had a front yard in a very long time. So the fact that we have one now, it's like, oh, we got to take care of this. And it's a lot harder than we thought. Like we were optimistic in the wintertime when, nothing wasn't growing.
Uh-huh.
And now everything's growing and we just kind of give up. So we're going to have to get a gardener. But anyway, other than that, thank you for indulging me in that icebreaker question to just get us to warm up. I always find those really fun. And I'm just excited to chat with you, Anna. Something that I have learned about you so far is that you are heavily invested in the military spouse community, and considering how you yourself are also a military spouse. So tell us a little bit about that, and what does it look like to give back and give your time to the military spouse community today?
Yeah, for me, giving back, my experience, I came here as an immigrant spouse, and it was kind of rough because we got married and we arrived here is in San Diego, which we are still here 8 years later. My husband is now out of the Navy. But when we first arrived here, our first real duty station together, and my husband deployed like 2-3 months after. So I found myself completely alone, and I just had to figure everything out in a completely new country with nobody that I knew. So there's this quote that I like from the newest Terminator movie, Dark Fate. Like, everybody hated it, but there's this quote where Sarah Connor, and she's very seasoned now. She's like taken down like 1,000 Terminators or something at this point. And there's a new girl that needs protection. And the other lead asks her, like, why do you care what happens to her? And Sarah Connor says, because I was her and it sucks. So that's what it means for me to give back, because there's so many times, being appreciated is nice as a military spouse and being recognized. So I'm not saying that that's not important, but you can only hear, oh, you're so resilient, you're so awesome, you're so strong, and clap for you so many times, and not get actual help and actual steps on how to improve your situation. That can only go so far. So that's why I like being involved in things that give tangible and meaningful improvements. One of the things that I do is through hiring our heroes, and I am the local lead for their military spouse professional network here in San Diego. It's about 1,000 people, 1,000 spouses in a Facebook group, and we have networking events each month. And, it's lighthearted, and it's, getting out and getting to know each other. There's a plane.
It's all good. It's all good. Feel free to pause if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to pause for the plane. Like,
yeah, that's totally fine.
I think we know, like, we just wait for the jet to pass. Like,
yeah. No, I totally understand. We live in Virginia, in Hampton Roads, like big military town. So it's kind of like, all right, just, you know the drill. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it, like, the microphone picks it up, but I'm just going to wait until I hear it's gone. So yeah, whatever helps for you. And obviously it's your audio quality at the end of the day. So if you don't want that to get picked up while you're talking, then, might as well just skip it.
I don't know how much it comes across, but sometimes when they are closer, like, they set off like car alarms and stuff. So it's like,
really?
Yeah, because there's like, we are not on base, but we are close to an airport where they actually do practice. And they like fly over this area a lot. So like sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's really crazy.
Sometimes it's wow. Yeah. I totally understand.
All right. But I think it's gone now. So
all right.
Let's get back to yeah. And so at the networking events, what I love, for example, at the last one, there was a spouse who came, and she's a new mom, and she was like, hey, I have my 8-month-old at home, and I just had such a hard time so far, and I haven't been going back out to the community. And I was like, who keeps on inviting me to these events? And I'm like, that was me. I'm sorry about the Facebook notifications. But she's like, yeah, like, this is what I need. I need to get out and talk to other people and find out what's going on. And she got so many good tips, and she was going like, okay, like, I know what my next steps are. And that's what I want people to take away from anything that I do, is that you go home and you know what to do next. Because I've been to events where, it feels good in the moment, and then you go home and, I would come home, my husband is still gone, I still don't know what to do. And I'm just like, I sit there and look around and like, okay, what now? So that's the feeling that I don't want anybody to feel.
Yeah. You want to feel like you have a sense of direction and purpose. And, you don't want to leave these kind of events kind of like, okay, well, that was fun. And now what do I do with myself? And I really like how you said that you want to help military spouses because you see yourself in them, especially the ones who are fairly new and struggling. And it's great to want to help out in that way and have that level of compassion, because when I think about what you're describing, it reminds me of when they say to service members like, oh, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. But it's like, I often find that's like the most annoying thing anyone in our military community can hear. It's like, okay, like, thanks, it doesn't go any further than that. It's almost like, I think it's almost dismissive, for some people to just say, thank you for your service. And so I really like how you want to be involved in these spouses' lives and make sure that they have a sense of a purpose or like action steps, so that when they leave, like the social gathering, it's not just like, okay, I'm back home. What do I do with myself? So I think that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I know that right now you are helping out with the Rosie Network. And I feel like I can kind of relate to this in a sense, because right now we are partnered with the Rosie Network to do our show, Holding Down the Fort. You helping the Rosie Network is kind of like a full circle moment for you, because you were part of their cohort like way early on. So tell us about that and how here you are years later, continuing to help the Rosie Network.
Yeah, it is a full circle moment. And I just love what the Rosie Network does so much, and just an amazing organization and an amazing example of, what to do next. And, like, it's just such a good resource. And for me, when I first heard about them, I saw a Facebook post by somebody. There's this legal workshop for military and spouses about small business, and you can come. And I'm like, okay, like I'm like vaguely interested in this, but I honestly don't believe that I could do anything like that for like a couple more years or something like that. That just seems like, way too far out and way too complicated, but I'm going to go and see what's up.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up being in cohort number 2 back in the day.
Wow.
So
crazy. OG
so like,
right here.
Yeah, OG, way OG. Yeah. So that was a while back, but I have been in connection with the Rosie Network ever since, because it's just such a great community and such an amazing network. And even, when you finish a cohort, that's not the end of it. You can stay connected and you can find out about so many things that are going on and continue to get help and continue to be a part of that community. And that's another way that is just so helpful. So obviously, when they asked me if I wanted to be the chapter lead for the summer cohort for Wounded Warrior Project, I was like, yes, absolutely. I would love to do it. Exactly for that reason, because I remember how I was so hesitant and I had no idea if I would even be able to do something like that.
Wow.
And they really helped me discover, how much I was actually able to do that. And I like to say this, people in the Rosie Network, like they believed in me before I believed in myself. Especially for me as a fitness business owner, times have been challenging. When you couldn't have your doors open to see clients in person. And so many times I would just feel like, like this was great, but do I actually have what it takes? Like, am I still a person who can help? And I would see somebody post in the Alumni Facebook group. I would see a post from the Rosie Network pop up. And like, oh yeah, like this is why I was doing this. So just like that, getting those reminders and staying plugged in that.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably skipping over something. But
Oh, no, you're definitely on track. Like, talking about how, just to recap, like talking about how the Rosie Network saw something in you before you saw something in yourself. And even though you were asking yourself those questions, like, who am I? Can I do this? And this reminds me of our offline conversation where we were talking about the imposter syndrome. And, when I was talking to you some time ago, I was a couple of days ago, actually, when I was talking to you about this, I was like, like I get this impression from you that the imposter syndrome doesn't faze you. You seem to be very confident. You seem to lean into things. You seem to take on challenges, like the scuba diver program, which we'll talk a little bit about later. And then you surprised me by saying, oh, no, I feel it all the time, so I feel it. So tell us about that. And also how, even though you have all those thoughts, you don't let it define you either.
Yeah. So about the imposter syndrome, and that's something that, I used to think I was alone with that. Yeah. And that's why I think it's important that we talk about it, because, the one instance that really changed, that was a conversation with other people who I still am looking up at the time, and inspiring people who you find So inspiring people that you're looking up to, and you just believe that, they would never feel like that. Like of course, they don't have imposter syndrome. And when somebody like that is being honest and says, oh yeah, I experience this all the time. And then you're allowed to see it as something that just happens regardless of who you are and what you do, and not see it as something that is there to stop you or to make you feel lesser about yourself, but just something that's there, and how you frame things in your mind. And if you think about, if I'm feeling that imposter syndrome, that can mean that, oh, I'm not good enough, or I shouldn't do this. Or that can mean, no, I feel this way because I care about it and I want to do a good job. And all of your thoughts, and because this relates back a lot of times to fitness. And if you feel like, I don't feel good enough and I don't look good enough, and I just don't think that I'm worth it, and people are going to criticize me if I go into the gym, and they are going to point at me and laugh at me. And that could mean, yeah, I just have this inner critic and they hate me, so I hate myself. Or that could mean that I have an inner voice that knows pain, and they are just trying to make sure that I don't feel that pain. So I can say, thank you, I'm going to be okay. And then it's not something that stops you, but it's something that actually tells a good positive story about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of which, I'd love to hear about your fitness training business, because in addition to these thoughts of like, can I do this? Like, who am I to do this? Imposter syndrome, just acknowledging all the things. I know that when you were first starting your fitness, or you were, kind of creating the idea, being part of the cohort program at the Rosie Network, you had a certain view of what it means to be in fitness training. Like you have to work at a gym, or, you have to yell at your clients, or kind of thing. And the Rosie Network helped you open your eyes to designing your fitness training business the way that you wanted to design it. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I had a lot of things about the fitness industry and how fitness training is conducted in general that really turned me off. And that was from my own journey. I had an eating disorder, and I recovered from that eating disorder. But, that it's not just about food. It's about how you see yourself and your body image, and what are the things that you are telling yourself. I knew that working out and exercise was always important for me. I used to do martial arts competitions when I was a teenager. I just loved movement and like challenging myself and, doing fun things and being active. So as a part of my recovery, I still thought that I would like to find my way back to that. But to be able to do that without that layer of your appearance being the most important thing.
Yeah.
And somebody yelling at you like, oh, work harder because you need to burn those snacks off. Like, I'm actually not trying to burn those snacks off.
I enjoyed those snacks, by the way.
Yes. I had a really good time with those snacks, and they're actually letting me to do this right now. So the snacks are going to stay. Thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah.
I need the calories actually. Like they are staying. Yeah. So and back at the time, like I knew I had this perspective that I wanted to bring to fitness, but I didn't see a mainstream way to be able to do that. Because if I wanted to work at a big gym, like they have their expectations already set up. And I remember like one interview I did, like, yeah, and you have in your pay structure these supplements that you can, but you're like expected to sell. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe in that supplement. I don't want to sell that fat burner to anybody. Like I'm not comfortable selling somebody something that I don't believe in.
Yeah.
So that was something that was really helped out by the Rosie Network, and through them realizing that I do have an avenue of doing things my way and being able to express myself and interact with clients the way I want to. And that was just such an important shift to see that, yeah, I can actually do things the way I want to do them, and I don't have to subscribe to anybody else's idea that I don't agree with.
I really like hearing that. I got to say that at the beginning of last year, I hired these coaches specifically because they had a very compassionate approach to your fitness. It wasn't about like, hey, you got to cut out everything and have a strict diet. It was kind of like their strategy was like, hey, just, instead of having like Ben and Jerry's, have like a keto friendly ice cream. Like they taught how to replace. It's like, hey, instead of drinking like soda, do like soda water and like squeeze lemon in it. That still, you still get the carbonated water in it. And so that was actually kind of like the first experience of me thinking like, oh, like fitness and taking care of my health doesn't have to be so intense. It doesn't have to be so dramatic. In fact, it was the reason why I stopped, because I was like, I feel like if I have to get into it, I have to like go all in 100%. And, people like my husband, they can do that. He can go cold turkey and, like do his strict diet and do really well. But like for me, I'm not wired that way. Like I have to enjoy the journey, because I don't like to see, fitness and eating as a chore or as a sin, like just because I'm enjoying like cookies or whatever. I love cookies, by the way. That's like if you ask me what my favorite
cookies too.
Yeah. If you ask me what my favorite thing is, it's cookies. I love cookies, chocolate chip cookies specifically. And I am the cookie monster now. but yeah, I do think that there's definitely an avenue for what you're offering, because even actually just today, I saw one of my friends, and in some of the forums I'm a part of, she was talking about how one of the things that she wishes she could do but doesn't do it is go to the gym, because it's like a whole event. So, you got to like get up and go to the gym, and then you got to like come back and shower and eat. It's a whole thing. And then there's a workout itself. And it just seems like so intense. It just seems like it always has to be this intense thing. And so I really like what I'm hearing from you, how you decided to design your training differently. And I do think that there's a market for that. I think that the point is movement, right? It's movement and like eat. I mean, you tell me, what do you feel like is, because I'm not the expert. I'm just talking about what I've learned, but you're the expert and I need to stop talking. So what would you say is the point of, why you do what you do and why you want people to, incorporate like some kind of fitness regimen into their day-to-day lives?
The reason for me is that fitness is important, and we all know this, and health is important, and we know this and we hear it. And, a lot of times, I'm so fed up with that. Like, I know it's important, whatever. But the thing that I saw as I was going down the rabbit hole of my eating disorder was how something that seems like motivational or inspirational fitness advice and something that's just casually thrown out there is actually leading down a pathway that can be really harmful. And, not everybody necessarily goes down that far, but it's like a spectrum of like, oh, this is healthy and this is good for me. And it just goes into, this is restriction. This is limiting my enjoyment. This is limiting my joy. This is limiting how much energy I have for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And really just to reframe thinking, even that like black and white thinking, like it has to be all or nothing. And because what we see, like, if you think about like what is fitness on TV, it's like, somebody like eating spinach and throwing up in the trash can. And, I always thought, like, you're not supposed to be throwing up in the trash can on your first personal training session. That's not in the package. We don't do that. But it's that extreme. And that's why it's hard to think about making it a part of your life, because you're not thinking about something that is actually tailored for you and it can fit into your life and it makes sense for you. Just like, oh, if I really like this one thing, but I want to make it fit better and then I swap it to something that I still like. Or, honestly, for me, like I even have the thing because I know how to stay balanced and I don't tell myself that I can't have anything.
Yeah.
Because once you get into that black and white thinking, the cookie is going to taste like 10 times better when you're thinking about it and you're not allowed to have it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ooh, I'm like, I don't have self-control because I'm thinking about the cookie.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
No, like, what I want to get people to is I can have the cookie if I want to. And I'm really clear if I actually want this now or not. And I'm not in that constant state of, I'm not allowed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those like the types like that black and white thinking. And I think the biggest scam that's in the fitness industry is step 1, you have to start with hating yourself. And then step 2, we tell you how to fix it.
Ugh. real.
If you think about a lot of times, like, would you have even bought that thing or thought about wanting that thing or doing that thing if the step one was not, ooh, this is going to fix something about me that's not good enough?
Yeah.
And for me to not have to start from like, oh, you want to have your whatever look like this, then you have to do this. I'm like, no, like, you're okay how you are right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to require you to start hating yourself for motivation and start beating yourself up for motivation. Your motivation is going to be how much more I can enjoy in my life if I add being fit or being strong to it. Because, a lot of times I have moms coming to me and they start with, I need to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. And, like, I'm not saying that nobody should ever lose weight. Like, I understand that everybody has different goals.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's journey is going to look different. But what I say is, okay, that's a goal. And that's a valid goal, and we can keep it on your goals list, but that's not the only goal that you should be thinking about. Because if that's your only goal and you're fixated on a certain number or you're fixated on a certain dress size, and that's the only thing that's in your mind, when you don't get it, you fail.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what else happened. It doesn't matter if you've been getting stronger. It doesn't matter if you've been feeling better. It doesn't matter if you've just been having more energy. As long as you're just focused on that one thing, you don't notice anything else about how amazing you are.
Yeah.
And especially for a mom who's coming to me, I understand that you want to lose that weight, but also what if you had more strength and, you could take all the groceries in one trip if you need to, or you could pick your kids up, or you could run after them and be stronger. And, one of the goals that somebody listed that I really loved is I want to be able to dance at my granddaughter's wedding.
Aw, I love
And
that.
isn't that such a better goal? Like if you're working out, like, yeah, you're imagining yourself on that day and you're fit and you have that energy instead of like 5 more pounds.
Yeah, it's like, what is the weight loss going to get you anyway? Like, what do people even imagine are they going to attain when they lose the weight, right? Like, I love that specific goal of like, I just want to dance with my granddaughter for a wedding. Like, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the image that you're told that you are going to be happy when you get there. And as somebody who went down and took that message way too seriously, I was never happy. Yeah. It doesn't matter how skinny I was never happy, and there was always more I could have done. And honestly, it got even worse and worse. And the more you focus on your appearance, the more you focus on meeting a goal that's not even necessarily that meaningful. It's not expressed in a meaningful way that brings joy and brings liveliness to your life. The more you're focused on that, the less happy you are going to become. And you believe that happy state is there when I get to my goal, and it's not. And you get there and you feel even worse.
Yeah.
And then you are going to go for even more extreme things, or you're going to fall off and not care about your health at all, because you believe that if I care about my health, being fit, being healthy is that extreme. And it didn't work, and it didn't make me happy.
Right.
And that's why it's not sustainable.
So you're saying that in the fitness industry, the biggest scam, the biggest lie is telling yourself that you need to hate yourself first, and then this is how we can fix you. What is your step one when you talk to your clients? Instead of saying you need to hate yourself and I will fix you.
Yeah, my step one is, and it's not going to be, oh, you have to love yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Because you would expect, oh, no, you don't have to hate yourself. You have to love yourself. But I actually understand that especially, and I think most of us have been conditioned, there's always something that you don't like about yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And you've been practicing this for years and years and years. And it might necessarily, it might change. It might not necessarily be the same thing the whole time. But there's always something like, if this changed or if that changed. And it's really hard to switch them and say, no, I love that about myself. And, you might be able to do that. And that's great if you can do that. But the first step is to be like, okay, this is my body and it just is.
Yeah. No, I love that.
It works for me. It does things, and I don't have to love it, and I don't need to hate it. I can just be neutral and accept it. Okay, it is, and it's neither a good or a bad thing. And from then on, you can build more of a relationship for self-love, but you can't, read 100 affirmations to yourself today and you're magically going to love yourself when you've been practicing hating yourself.
Yeah.
I think the first step is accepting, okay, it is what it is, and it's okay as is. I don't have to have any kind of positive or negative feeling about it in order for me to actually do the best thing for it.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is it doesn't have to be a big deal. The whole, like your whole fitness journey, it doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be black or white, all or nothing. It could just be, it could be mellow. It could just be in the middle.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really resonate with that because the all or nothing thinking, the black and white thinking was very real for me for a long time. And, you're in San Diego, like I lived in SoCal for 20 years and all you get are those kind of messages, about like, hey, like lose all this weight and you'll be pretty, you'll be happy. And, we live so close to Hollywood. Like there's just that, feeling of having to look and be a certain way. And I remember there was a time when I finally decided like, you know what, like my body made it this far in life. I still have all my 5 senses. Like I wake up in the morning, like I'm in the best health I can be at this point. Let me love myself for where I'm at right now and not make it about the weight. And, I even went as far as, just buying clothes that I felt more comfortable in rather than like, having those pair of jeans where it's like, maybe one day I'll fit back into it. Like, donating all my high school clothes that I really shouldn't be wearing anyway, even if I did fit in them because those are way out of style and they're old. And, just like being able to adapt to who you are today. So I love that first step of like, learning to love yourself in this very moment and accept who you are and just starting from there. Cause yeah, there's just this weird negative type of motivation in the fitness industry to hate yourself first. And, maybe it worked well for marketing and advertising for people to buy whatever products that feed into your insecurity. But like you said, in the long run, it's just not sustainable.
Exactly. And this is what I love reminding everybody because we need these reminders. There should be nothing in your closet that makes you feel lesser about yourself.
Love it. That's amazing.
Because I went through this as well. And, I did gain a lot of weight after I caught COVID because that was like a big challenge for me as a personal trainer because as part of my recovery, I had so much joint pain. For the first 2 weeks, I couldn't even walk on the stairs.
Wow.
So I was like, this is going to be fun. This is my job. And there was this one crop top. This like sports bra crop top, and it was just there hanging in the closet. And I was like, this doesn't fit. And I'm like, this doesn't fit. I could like put it on and be like, oh no, I still feel great about it, but I'm not going to feel great about it. And I was like, you know what, you are a crop top. Like I bought you to make me feel good about myself. So if you're not going to do that, you can leave.
Love it.
So it's just like, yeah, like it's your job to fit me and it's not my job to fit you crop top things.
I love that reframe. It's like, hey, so we're going to have to let you go. Yeah, you no longer fit with the company goals here. So here's your severance package.
Thank you for contributions so far. Yes.
You can go to the donation. You can go to a thrift store.
Exactly.
I love that.
And that's what I did when I donated all of the clothes that no longer fit me after my recovery because I was so sad because I loved them and there were so many beautiful things. Yeah. And they were there for a while. And there was that weight in the closet and I would look at them and I would just be reminded that, it's for the better.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to fit into those anymore in my life.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't because if I ever fit in those again, I'm not in a good place.
Yeah.
So I decided, I'm going to let go of these clothes and I'm going to say to myself, I'm releasing these for somebody who is going to feel happy wearing them when they are at a weight that is healthy for them. They just weren't for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm taking all the affirmations, reframes, goodbye letters here.
Yeah.
It's allowing yourself to go through that grieving process of, that's who you were at a certain time. Like those clothes represented who you were, but they don't have to represent like who you're going to stay to be because you're not that person anymore. And that should be a good thing. Like I think about, like I mentioned, like the high school clothes and all the things that I've been donating throughout the years really. And I just think to myself, like, even if I could fit in those again, like I'm not that person anymore. Like I don't even like that style. And it'll bring me back to insecurities that I've let go of. So I really love, talking about the grieving process and also the self-acceptance, of who you are today. Like you are just as beautiful now as you were back then, and we got to hire clothes that are going to make us look good, not, the other way around. So I really love that attitude. And I think that if anyone, it's summertime, the time that we're recording this. So if anyone hears this or when people hear this, hopefully you'll feel reassured that, hey, if that bikini doesn't fit you anymore, it's okay to get another one, or it's okay to get a one suit. It's okay to style things, I mean, this is going to come out in the fall, so I don't think anyone's like wearing bathing suits at this time. But, just giving yourself that ability to grow into different clothes, and embracing who you are today, I think is beautiful. So thank you for that pep talk, Anna.
Yeah,
all the love.
It's being okay with change, because I hear this all like, oh, I want to go back to where I look like this. So I want to go back to the body I had when. And accepting the fact that you are not supposed to, like, change is okay. And it's okay if you don't look the same, or if things don't feel the same, because it's life. And wherever you are right now, you are never going to be here again.
Yeah, love it.
And that's why, like, it's important, because if you're looking at a certain point in your past and you're setting that as an ideal, you're looking back at a past self and you're ignoring who you are right now.
Yeah.
And there's a future self who is looking back on you right now and like, wait, I need that love right now.
I'm just taking in everything you're saying. It's very positive and reassuring. I was all like, just rain on me with all this positive affirmation, reassurance. It's like, if you don't have your own podcast already, I'm telling you. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about where you're at today with your business, Anna. I know that, like many people in the fitness industry, you had a pivot during 2020, but I don't think it was for the worse. It sounds like, you were able to pivot in a way that was exciting for you. So tell us about, what your business looks like today.
Yeah, it's exciting now. It was nerve-wracking at first to take everything online, but that's where I decided, like, I actually want to do more online and have online offerings that I can have people access, and not just one person at a time. If I can help more people in the same time, then, I'm getting the same thoughts that I could be telling one person, or the same workout that I could be doing for one person. If 5 people, if 10 people could do it at the same time, then that's helping me get the message out that I wanted to get out in the first place. And what I'm doing right now is expanding my online courses. I started this first a year ago when I launched my scuba diving workouts, which was funny. It was actually a collaboration with one of the other businesses that we were in together in the Rosie Network cohort, Jade Scuba Adventures, shout out. They came to me and they said, we want to have workouts for our divers, because we've been looking for a while, but there's really nothing that is specific to diving skills. And I was like, oh, cool. Let me try this out and let me see what movements do you need. Let me see how it feels to be in the water. So based on that, I created a workout program for divers. We tested it with divers and it's really good and effective. And that was my first big workout program that's fully online. So it's on demand. You can access it. And I don't need to be there next to you in the room at all. The complete instruction is just there. And whenever you want to do your workout, you can. So I realized, this is something that I want to do more of.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm working on a mini course for neck. So if you have stiffness in your neck, if you have tech neck, if you're on your phone a lot, if you're on your computer a lot, if you just feel like, this is really tight. How do we release that? And how do we spend 5 to 10 minutes a day and get you back into better function and less pain? So I just want to continue building out programs like that are accessible, that are actually helpful for people. And it's not like, oh, you hate how your butt looks, let's do these 5 exercises. No, actually, this is going to improve your quality of life, and you're going to be able to enjoy the rest of everything that you do more.
Yeah. for me, I think what I like about fitness is more so just being functional, just being able to do basic things in life, like carrying the grocery bags to the house or, taking the step up to feed my cat in their cat tree because it's so high up, like just basic things and having the and I love this mini program you're doing because like everyone needs that. You and I are on a computer right now. Like everyone has like shoulder issues, like I go to the chiropractor for this stuff. So I think it's very relatable. And I just love hearing the initial collaboration you did for scuba divers and then now this mini program. It's really exciting to hear how you have like transformed your business to be online. And I imagine that would probably open up more time for you to either create more courses or, whatever you want to do with your time.
Well, that's a tricky part because, it looks like if you open a video that's 5 minutes long, and you will know this. I don't know if all the listeners, like if you open up a video that's 5 minutes long, that didn't take me 5 minutes to create.
Got it. So there's a lot of...
that took me a whole lot more. So that was the learning curve for me to realize like, oh yeah, like if I have to record these videos, I have to have the camera set up this way. You can't see my head if I turn it. Okay. There's definitely a lot more to it than is visible on the surface.
Yeah, I will say as a podcaster, there's a lot that happens in the post-production the planning and then the post-production and of course the marketing. So I can completely relate and understand what you're saying with that. But yeah, I just think it's really exciting either way to, venture your business in this direction. But yeah, that's really exciting, Anna. And, it's really cool to know that it took something as the Rosie Network so many years ago for you to see what's possible in your business and be open to pivoting and doing things online, which is the direction you were going to go anyway, and, be able to do all this. So I'm just incredibly excited for you. And more importantly, I just really enjoy hearing you talk about like really just encouraging people that fitness is more than just losing weight. It's more than hating yourself. There's so much more to it. And that's why I found myself just kind of like being speechless after you talk, because I was like, yeah, that's true. She's right. Like I feel so reassured, like listening to her. And if you don't start a podcast about it, I'm just saying, just a thought there. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on here. So, considering that you are involved with the Rosie Network, one thing that my company, US Vet Wealth, and the Rosie Network has in common is helping our military community really value like self-sufficiency and financial stability. We have different vehicles in doing it, but essentially, that is why we have aligned and why we have partnered up for the show Holding Down the Fort season 7. So with that being said, here you are in your journey. You've been in your business for a number of years now. I'm curious to know, what does self-sufficiency in your business look like for you today and moving forward? If I would imagine that you'd want to have your business for another 5-7 years.
To first talk about that, I'm going to take it to a direction that actually seems to go opposite from that, because in my learning curve about self-sufficiency, I think there's a mindset, and my husband was in this mindset. So I just kind of like came into it when I got married to him, and I didn't know how to necessarily navigate it at first, that you have to be self-sufficient and you must never ask for help and you have to power through things. And at least from what I saw with him and some other people that I know, I don't know if this applies to everybody in the military, but there might be a little bit here and there that people could relate to. And for me, what I found really valuable is to actually be able to ask for help, to be able to turn to your community, to be able to look at, okay, what are the resources that are available for me? What are things that I can utilize to help me actually use those resources that I have available? Maybe I won't necessarily apply for it if I don't hear about it, or I think, oh, that's not for me. That's just for somebody else who could use it better. And like, no, it's for you. Hear about it, apply to those things and use them. Because from my point of view as an immigrant spouse, and I think probably for military spouses in general, you just have this mindset that, this is just going to suck. And you are going to struggle, and that's it. And if you just say, okay, this is a struggle, so this is just always going to be a struggle. Yeah. And then you don't look outside for, okay, how can this not be a struggle? And, as strong as you are, And as much as you can do by yourself, if you don't find out how else or things could be done or what else is available to you, you can really stay in that struggle and not even know that there's an option for you. And, that's just going back to the Rosie Network too. And I talk to people a lot about resources and what's available, because a lot of times we think like, oh, if I need to get like education that's worth like, I don't know how many $1,000, or I need to get so much done, or I need to have something that's like a really big thing. And it could actually be something simple, something that's a free resource, or something that's a low cost resource that's available to you specifically because of your military affiliation that can really help you along. So self-sufficiency in that way of like, be able to ask for help when you need it.
Yeah.
And again, like as strong as you are, that's not all you have to be. And you can say, hey, I got this help. Like I'm saying right now, like I went through this cohort and it was awesome. And it really helped my business. But if I didn't do that, I would not have a business.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like your take on self-sufficiency. To me, it sounds like self-educating, educating on what are the resources that are available to you. I definitely think the word self-sufficiency can be interpreted as, oh, you got to do it all on your own. You got to be stoic about it. You got to not burden other people with your problems or your issues. And to, maybe to some certain extent that is important for certain times, but for the most part, we need people. We need help. We need support. And so I really like that, for you, self-sufficiency sounds more like, educating yourself on the resources and the support like that you do already have available because you're connected to the military. And I guess the last question I want to ask for you is about like, what does it mean for you to sustain your business financially? And part of where I'm coming from is it is my hope. My hope is for our community to know that you could diversify. You could have options outside of that military paycheck, for example. And it doesn't mean you have to make $1 million or whatever, but I am curious to know, from your perspective as a military spouse, what does financial stability look like for you?
I think that's an interesting topic because a lot of times as military spouses and as fitness instructors, it's like, I will need to take 5 more spin classes that I need to teach, or otherwise things are going to look really bad right here. So there's definitely been times like that where I would not see how things would add up. And that's a part of that, trying to think of what is the scale of what I'm doing. Because I used to teach a lot of classes. I used to have just, I would wake up at 5 a.m. and then I would have a client at 5:30 and we would just go on. And then I would try to eat some lunch, but then I would be teaching a spin class and I would be going to the next class from that. And I would have clients in the evening and I'm totally burnt out. And if I get sick, then that's it. I'm out for a week. I can't work. So for me personally, that's what I believe having online offering helps a lot with, because it doesn't rely on me physically being present. And that was a really big learning curve for me as I was recovering from COVID as well, because I realized that I can't physically sustain that. So what is my business going to be? What is me as a trainer going to be if I can't be there physically? And I don't necessarily have to stand there next to you to give you value, to give you something that is going to help you, to give you something that is going to improve your life, improve your mobility, improve your fitness, and being able to think along the lines of, how can I turn what I know into something that can be accessed in a way where I'm not there?
Yeah. Well, what an exciting journey to be on in your business. I think that is the hope for every entrepreneur, is how do I step away from this and it still operates and I still get paid? And I'm glad that that is, the stage of business that you're in, because I do imagine that, as a fitness trainer, it could be assumed that you have to be present, you have to be there, you have to give your undivided attention to someone. And you have found a way to duplicate yourself in a sense with these online courses. So I'm excited for you, Anna, and to see how that's going to continue to play out for you and what other programs you come up with to hopefully work alongside of you doing the one-to-ones. Like it sounds like you kind of have a variety of offerings so that in case you are out again for a week, at least you can rely on your online courses.
Exactly. And that's what I want to say about, being resourceful, and because, you can be really effective doing more of the things that are not necessarily sustainable, because just like I used to put a lot of energy into, sometimes I would teach like 10, 13 classes a week and on top of my clients.
Oh my gosh.
And it was exhausting, but like, oh yeah, I'm in really great shape. I can do one more and I can take on this, somebody needs to substitute this spin class. I can do that. I can be there at 7 a.m. I can do this. And a lot of times they're like, oh yeah, I'm really good because I'm taking it on all of these things and I'm really good at dealing with this. But what you necessarily don't see is that I could take that energy and think about, instead of keeping this going, what is something else that I could do that would be just as effective? But if I take my self-esteem from, I can keep this going and I can work really hard on this, then I'm not necessarily going to be able to explore another option.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, Anna, as we start to get to a close here, I want to make sure that you share everything you want to share, especially to our military community. So is there any parting thoughts or main takeaways you want to share with our community, whether they're entrepreneurs or not?
They really appreciate the power that's in community. And if you're struggling with something, don't be afraid to open up and ask if there's somebody there in the room with you who would be able to offer some tips or who knows about a resource. Because if you keep it to yourself and you think that, oh, nobody else has this problem, or if I open up about this, I'm just going to show that I'm weak, then you're going to be struggling by yourself, and maybe the person next to you has the exact same problem and you guys will never know. That was at a Rosie Network workshop as well about business planning, of all things. And I was talking about my experience from recovering from an eating disorder, but I don't really know if this applies to anybody. Like, I just feel like I'm alone with this, and I don't know if anybody else would care about it. And the person who was facilitating the workshop, he said, okay, so everybody in the room, put up your hand if you had an eating disorder, if you know somebody who had an eating disorder, anything along that kind. It was just like so many hands. And I was like, okay, I could actually open up about this more.
Yeah.
And there would be people who this really resonates with. And I guess my takeaway is that, like, don't be afraid to connect. Don't be afraid to lean on your community, because ultimately your community is why you make it. And you can find the people that are going to be there and are going to be helpful.
Love it. And I think what I'm hearing from you is that community is healing.
Yes.
So wonderful. Well, Anna, I feel like this is a very, very loving conversation. I feel like our listeners are going to be like, yeah, I needed to hear this today. So I really, really want to thank you so much for your time. So last thing I wanted to ask you, and I feel like I said this 3 times already, but one thing I always like to do with the guests nowadays is to ask them if, turn the tables around and ask if you have a question for me. So do you have anything you want to ask me, Anna, before we go?
Yes, and I do have a question to you, and this could go out to anybody else in the audience too.
Yes.
And just to finish on that positive and encouraging note and have something that you can take away with you and remind yourself, because my company is shaped by strength. Strength doesn't mean a look or one certain physique. It doesn't even have to mean something physical. It's something that you find within yourself. For me, the way I define strength is overcoming something that has the power to destroy you. So, and it could be, it could be whatever it is for you. But I would like to ask you, in your opinion, what are your top 3 strengths that make you you.
Oh, that's so fun. Okay, I'm going to just give like my, like what comes to mind. The first thing, what makes me strong is what you're saying. That's a question. So the first thing is my faith. I'm a Christian and I'm a very spiritual person. So that helps a lot for me, is like having a resource, like a Bible to refer to and be reminded that I'm loved. So that's the first one. The second one is it's having learned how to self-parent. You know, I grew up as even though I wasn't the oldest, I was the eldest daughter, and my mom leaned against me a lot, especially when my dad passed away. And I was a middle child, so I was also neglected on a lot of levels, if anyone can understand middle child syndrome here. And so I had to learn to self-parent. And I think that is a strength of mine, to like soothe myself, you know, like be able to unpack my emotions and comfort myself. So I think that is the second strength. And then the third one is, I think, just sharing that with others. Like, it's like, if I can, there's a phrase that goes like, while hurt people, healed people, heal people. And I
love that.
Yeah. And I'd like to believe that I've gone through a lot of personal development and help to the point where I feel like I can be, you know, an asset in people's lives. I can be validating, reassuring, and loving. And, you know, kind of what you're like, similar to what I feel from you. It's like love yourself as you are, you know, come as you are. Like you've always been enough. Now it's just a matter of like, you know, defining what strength in this case like means to you, and how Anna can support you in enforcing that, you know? So yeah, there's my faith, there's my self-parenting, and then there's like being of service to others. I feel like those are my strengths. I totally just like made all that up. So thank you for asking me on the spot. It's like I feel like you got back to me because I like did the icebreaker question for you at the beginning. So there you go. We're even.
All of those are beautiful.
Yeah.
And the reason why I like focusing on this is because if you look at yourself and you start defining yourself and you want to go beyond the external and look at yourself, what is something within me that makes me strong? And then you find you can do more than 3.
Yeah.
By the way, like you don't have to stop at 3, but you will find these things, and then you start seeing yourself in a totally different light, and you start seeing yourself in ways that, oh, maybe I didn't appreciate this about myself, but I should.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I feel like I'm going to be thinking more about this on my drive home. Like, what else do I consider a strength? It could go beyond the 3, like you mentioned. So, well, Anna, thank you for our conversation. Thank you for sharing your story, being incredibly transparent on your journey and having recovered from your eating disorder. So congratulations, and being able to help people and meet them where they're at, and all the incredible work you do as a fitness trainer. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on our show. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun.
Wonderful. Hey, this is your host, Jen Amos. Thanks again for listening to today's episode of Holding Down the Fort by US Vet Wealth. Visit holdingdownthefortpodcast.com to access the full show notes of this episode, including resources mentioned and bonus content. Once again, that's holdingdownthefortpodcast.com. Lastly, stay after this outro music for something a little extra. Thanks again, and chat soon. Bye for now. All right, hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me here in the post commentary. I wanted to talk more about our free podcast portal, in which you can get access to now by visiting the website holdingdownthefortpodcast.com/portal. And I'm actually excited to announce that at the time of this recording, when you get access to this portal, you can also get access to the podcast version of the portal. And I really like the name of the podcast. I'm not going to tell you what it is because you have to go in the portal. But once you see the name of the podcast portal podcast show, the podcast portal podcast show, it'll be a no-brainer. You'll be like, oh, that totally makes sense. That's the name of, the private podcasts for the podcast portal. So if you're interested in checking that out, if you're trying out our podcast portal and you're like, I want a more convenient way to hear all of this bonus content, go ahead and go to holdingdownthefort.podcast.com/portal. And once you log in, which is free, you will find out how you can get access to the podcast version of the podcast portal and find out what the name of it is. I don't want to say it just yet. I just created it today. That's why I'm so excited about it. And I want to tease at you to actually go into the portal and see for yourself. And with that said, thank you all so much. Actually, I want to say it's been a while since I've actually done this recording of post commentary, and we have a lot of juicy stuff in the podcasting platform. I'm just going to kind of read through some of the things that we already have in this portal. So a couple of bonus content we have in this portal are podcasting basics. I have a 6-part series in here for anyone that is just looking for the basics on how to get started. And it's all available to you now. And you can listen to it 10 minutes each, 5 minutes if you listen to it at 2 times speed. And so you could actually cut an hour's worth, because the 6-part series is an hour total. But if you do listen to it at 2 times speed, you'll get everything you need to know in 30 minutes. So that's part of the content we have in our podcast portal. Also, I do a consultation. I provide consultation to a past guest who is on our show about how to start a podcast. And so that's available for you. So those are just some of the bonus content that is available here. This is really a way to get inside our podcast show and learn more about the journey of running a podcast, and also even my journey as an entrepreneur for the last 13 years. So once again, if that's something that is of interest to you, check out holdingdownthefort.podcast.com/portal. And it's all free. You can cancel your account anytime. And the whole purpose of having this additional bonus content is really just to continue to provide value to all of you. So hope to see you there. And until then, I'll chat with you in the next episode. Tune in next time.